Hey Soul Tribe, this is Lori, Pure Love Ascension. I told you I would do a second video and I would talk about my Ascension symptoms and some of the things I've been going through. So it started with one day I was at the sink washing dishes and I was just kind of doing my chores. I wasn't thinking about anything too much. And all of a sudden I got kind of dizzy. And it just came on like I was gonna pass out. So I wasn't sure what was happening, but I was able to catch my balance. I sat down for a few minutes and caught my breath, and everything was fine. But it was a dizzy spell. It was like a dizzy spell. Yeah, that's a good way to explain it. Anyway, come to find out later, what it was the pineal gland. My pineal gland was opening up, and that was a physical sensation of that happening at that moment. And it was kind of odd, just came out of nowhere. So during my process, when I started thinking positive thinking, no negative thoughts, I would cancel those out. I came up with creative ways to do that. Sometimes I would have a blackboard in my mind with one of those big, long, giant erasers like you see in school. And I would get a negative thought and I would take that eraser and I would literally just picture it in my hand and I would erase that thought off the board. And then pretty soon that got to be too much to do that every time because I'd have so many negative thoughts and thinking. So then I thought, well, you know, on a computer, you hit your Control-Alt-Delete, and that permanently deletes it. So I did that for a while as well. I would have a negative thought come into my mind, and I would be, nope, that's not something I want to think about. So I would just picture the Control-Alt-Delete. Pretty soon I would just say Control-Alt-Delete memory, and it would go away, and it was instant. It worked really well. I thought that was a good technique. But, you know, use your imagination. Think of anything that you can. And be as creative as possible. I think that really makes a big difference. But shortly after that happened to me, and I got dizzy washing dishes. A few days later, I started to get a really bad headache. And shortly after that, I got really ill, like throwing up and flu-like symptoms without, you know, the flu. Like, I know what the flu is. I've had the flu before, but it felt flu-like, but it wasn't the flu. And so I quickly realized that these were physical ascension symptoms that was happening. And when I talked to Eric, my spirit guide, he said, yes, that's exactly what's going on with you. And so I was a little nervous at first because I didn't know what was happening or why it was happening, but I got through it and better for it. Prior to this, I'd done some meditating and was releasing some old cords and attachments. So things that were going on in my past that I wasn't proud of, you know, situations I'd been in. I just basically got to a point where I learned how to release all that, and I just let it go. And it kind of went into some past life stuff as well. So things that were going on in my past life that I brought into this life that I was working on quickly were removed. And I think that's what catapulted the ascension symptoms and the pineal gland and all that opening up. Made sense to me later as all this came about. But some of the ascension symptoms that I did experience, the biggest one was itchy skin. So, man, for days, my scalp would itch really bad. My skin would itch no matter how much conditioner I put on my hair, no matter how much lotion I put on my skin. I still experienced a lot of itchy skins. Just couldn't seem to get any relief from it. And that went on for, gosh, about a week. The other thing was I had muffled hearing and light deafness in my ears. And I guess the best way to explain it is if you had some earmuffs over your ears and you put your hands over it, but you could still hear that's what it felt like. And that went on for an easy 14 days, on and off, on and off. Just this light deafness in my hearing. So I got to thinking about it, and I looked up the pineal gland to see where that was located, which is here. But if you turn your head sideways, it's here to here. And so that made a lot of sense that I was having problems with the hearing aspect of it as well. Also, too, I had this intense ringing in my ears, and that went on for 2 weeks solid. And it was very high pitched. It would come in, it would fade in, it would go out, it would come back. You know, it was disturbing. I mean, it kind of scared me a bit. I was a little unsure of what was happening. But once I spoke to my spirit guide, and Eric explained to me that it was just part of the ascension process, it made things a lot easier, but it was very difficult, very difficult. And I could describe it as almost like how a snake lets go of their skin, you know, and renews itself. That's how it felt. I guess that's the only way I could describe it. So there's that snake energy coming into play, and releasing of those energies and just shedding that skin is what it felt like to me, and that rang true for me. It also got to the point where it was hard to be around people who were negative in any way, that did not have positive things to say, who were being judgmental and quite honestly not truthful. I found it repelling to be around them. I did not want any part of that, and I would remove myself from that situation. And if I had control over removing people out of my life with those attributes, then I did, and they are gone, no longer in my life. Also, too, when you're going through this stuff, and it's like you really need somebody to talk to, and it's hard to find somebody that understands what you're going through. And for me, I had a lot of close family members that noticed a change in my attitude, didn't know what was going on. And then when I tried to explain what was happening, it was disbelief. Even after I'd given messages, healing messages from my father and that kind of stuff, I still just didn't get nobody understood what I was talking about, and they just looked at me like I was crazy. So really be careful who you talk to, who you share this information with. This is probably one of the biggest things you need to know is if they're not spiritually awakened and they're not getting this kind of stuff, don't discuss it with them. Keep it to yourself. Yeah, that's important. I did mention last time that I'd been watching some specific channels, and one of the channels that I found resonance with, and I'm probably her biggest fan, she probably doesn't know it, but would be Ruth at Kindred Spirit Tarot. Every morning I would have coffee, and I would listen to the messages, and I always felt like they resonated with me. And that almost like she was speaking directly to me, and it just gave me a lot of support and love, and hey, you're on the right track, you're doing the right things, keep up the good work. It just resonated with me. So find channels, find outlets like that, so that you are feeling supported through this process. Because you don't want to not feel supported through this. That's not a good feeling. And it's a positive thing, so you want to keep it positive. Also, I have a friend who is dealing with some early onset ascension struggles. As he's going through all of this, he's at the beginning, early stages of it. I suspect he's probably an empath. And so I'm going to bring him on, and we're going to have a little chit chat about it. And I think it'd be really good to share his story and what's happening with him. And also it'll help other people. I've also noticed that online, there's so many gurus out there. There's psychics. There are people who've been doing this for years. There's people who are connected, you know, just like Abraham Hicks, Theo, boy, there's a whole slew of them out there, but there's nobody out there talking about the beginning of this stuff and where to start and what to expect. And again, it's going to be different for everyone. Your process is going to be different. You know, some people have traumatic experiences in their lives, other people don't and still go through this. So I'm fascinated by that process. Oh, there's also the Moore Show. He's really good. He does a lot of interviewing of psychic mediums and things like that. And it's very educational. So, you know, watch as much as you can. Just absorb as much information as you can and make sure that it rings true for you. If it doesn't, don't waste your time on it. Also, lately, I've been doing a lot of healing for family members again. My grandmother came through yesterday and had a healing message for my aunt. And so I gave that to her. Also, I had some healing messages for Brian, Milky Way Messenger. You're one of my biggest fans. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I do have a message for you if you're open to it. So if you'll leave a comment below that you would like that message, or if you feel more comfortable, you could email me at PureLoveAscension@gmail.com. And I'd be happy to pass that information on. It is from your father, it is for you and your mom. So that's entirely up to you if you want to receive that message. But I wanted to make sure and ask first, very important. Sometimes I've given messages to people that didn't ask for it, and I think it's important to ask. So in the future, that's what I'm doing. So yeah, so Jordan's going to be coming on with me, and we're going to talk about his ascension path and what's been going on for him and where he's at. I think it'd be really good to share that with you. I want to thank you so much for watching and being a big part of this. And there's so much more I want to accomplish and do with this. So yeah, I want to invoke upon you all much favor, love. And again, it's so important to give yourself much self-love. When you understand that you created this life for yourself, the avatar and meat suit, so to speak, that you're living in is something that you chose. Once you understand that you chose this body and this time and everything that's happening to you, makes it a lot easier to accept yourself and love yourself. At least I found that for myself. Anyway, thanks again for being here. And there's more content coming. And I'm also looking into another computer system and some better software. I think it's time for that. I'm having a lot of trouble just uploading and getting these simple, quick videos out to you, but I'm going to work on that and get that taken care of. But anyway, thanks again for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time. And so happy now, my spirit pals, and much love, gratitude, and much favor upon you and everyone in your life. And, you know, do something nice for someone today, a simple compliment. Maybe you're in line at Starbucks, pay for the guy behind you and just let them know, hey, the car in front of you paid for you. That's a good one to do for people. And also a simple compliment or some nice gesture, maybe letting, you know, somebody in line in front of you. And being more patient with people. I think that's really important. But those are the little things that you can do right now to make yourself feel better. And trust me, you will feel better. Yep. All right. We'll see you again soon. And thanks again. I really appreciate you watching. So take care now, everyone. And let's see if I can figure out how to shut this off.